Okay, I guess we are live. Maybe I'm just going to double check that everything's working. Let's see. Just to make you never know. Where did I put that? Oh my god. See, I have this sound coming off my computer all the time, and I don't understand what it is. It's like doo-doo. It's really weird. Let's see. Okay, I'm just quickly going to. Let's see. Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. It's working. Yeah. Hi, Sigge. No, did I close the? No, there we are. Yeah, there it is. Like, yeah. You hear that? When I go back to this slide or this window, why the hell does it make that sound? That's so weird. Anyways, so I got super inspired yesterday. We did the stream, and we were exploring like a really complex challenge in UI development, which is a file explorer. And we've done a few things to optimize it. So basically, instead of having a nested structure, we flatten the structure. So it's actually just one long list of directories and files. So even though you'd like open a directory, it's actually still just from a UI perspective, it's still just a single flat list. And this enables virtualization, meaning that we know that every item has a specific height, regardless of it being a directory or a file, which means that we can say that, okay, there's room for like 20 items in the view. And when you scroll up and down, there will always only be 20 items in the view, which is a huge improvement on very long lists. But then we also got into like reconciliation, props passing, and dispatching and all that shenanigans, which required a lot more refactor than we thought, which oh yeah, the Zustan thing. Yeah, maybe I can show you that first. Yeah, so I couldn't leave it alone. So I also made some discoveries, and what I thought we'd do in this session is to talk about some changes I'm making to React states. It's like it's constant learning, and it's let's see. Okay, so I made a little library. That's what I do. I make libraries. So what we were exploring is like, okay, how would you express yeah, like having explicit states, but also having functionality tied to them. Now, one thing that I discovered, well, not discovered, I kind of knew it, but it's there's a lot of stuff going on. It's hard to remember how everything ties together, but yeah. Yeah, so the thing is, if you tie functionality to a specific state, that means you're kind of going against the principle of a state machine. So the principle of a state machine is that you have these states, and then you have all these events just pushing in on the state machine. And then you use the state of the state machine to decide if you want to do the action or handle the action or not, or the action event. It's the same. But what we're doing here is that we're saying that so that's one point. It's going against that principle, because now we kind of already say that this action should be handled within this state, which is not like, it's not a bad thing, but it goes against the principle, because even though the consumer of this state knows about this state and knows that switch is available, There are many other scenarios where you have no idea what state it is. You're just like dispatching something into the reducer. So an example of that would be with the environment interface. So the environment is just shoving out events from the environment and dispatching it into the reducer. And it has no idea about the state, and it doesn't care about the state of the reducer. It just dispatches in. So if you tie these actions to a specific state, it means that this environment interface suddenly has to know about the state to kind of map these events into specific actions. So that's really weird. And then the second thing is you can get like stale. It's very easy to get into like, well, not easy, maybe that's not the right term, but you can get into the situation where you have stale actions. So imagine like you're passing this foo state down or you're passing the state down. You identify that it's the foo state, and then you pass this switch somewhere. But suddenly you move away from the foo state, and now this switch action isn't valid anymore. So now you're kind of, especially in case of Sue stand, that will be a huge problem because the action will just change the state, but it's invalid. Yes, and then that's a problem. And then another problem is that you want to combine it. So you want some actions to be specific to a state, but you want some actions to be completely agnostic to what state you're in. And there's no way to express that. You would have to express the action on every state, which is kind of weird. Anyways, so what this and that was kind of my learning. Maybe I should have ended with that. Anyways, so the way this ended up is that you have the foo state, you have the bar state with the actions, and you define that they actually do a transition. So that's like a requirement, is that the function needs to return a new state or nothing. And the way we express this is that we have a state foo with a function that returns the state. And then you have optional parameters you can send to this. And here we have the bar where you actually pass in a count just for fun. Oh yeah, sorry. So the switch here calls bar. And then here we have the bar state. So you can think of these as state creators, just like you have action creators. Yeah, it would be a nightmare. Yeah. So think of them as state creators. And then here we go with a switch again, but here we return foo, given that we have this valid statement. And then we go in and create a machine, and then we call the initial state. And what's nice is like you get match and all this stuff directly on the machine. But yeah, so what I didn't like about it is everything I just talked about. What I did discover, though, is this pattern, which I love, because it simplifies typing so much. And I'll show you how to, this is even better what I'm working on now. But having these state creators allows you to describe explicit states. Yeah, it allows you to create these explicit states without typing them explicitly. And you get the power of making them like a factory. And you get other benefits as well. You get like exact return type from them, and you get inferred typing. And let me just show you how this ties into React State. So this is what I got inspired by. It's these state creators. And let's open it up here. So let's look at something simple here first. In the dev tools, we have the resizer. Okay, so there are two things I've been working on with React States. I have this tendency to like build libraries and build abstractions, and that's the fun thing about programming. It's like looking at these pieces of the puzzle and make things more accessible. That's a lot of fun, but sometimes that completely goes against like the principles. And the principle of React States is that it's low level. You should understand that you're creating a reducer, and it's just the logic within the reducer that you're dealing with. There's nothing magical about this. And this ties into commands and actions and everything. So anyways, so please ignore this command stuff. We can talk more about that. Yeah, what if there's a boss that lives inside bar and you want to return foo state? Yeah, let's talk about that, because that ties into like these state creators. So you have a boss. So you're thinking that you have like a nested state, you have like boss in here. Yeah, hi. um, yeah, and then yeah, exactly. Yeah, you mean like if you had like a function here, some func, and you would now want to return. Yeah, you would kind of move back to foo from here. Like, yeah, you can do that. Yeah. If I understood you correctly, it's like a failing of this pattern to be able to do that. Like if you wanted to go to foo here, then like that wouldn't work. Oh, we got the anyways, yes. So this isn't, sorry that I'm telling you to like ignore this command thing. We'll talk more about that. But the point here is that this resizer, this is what does the resizing of the dev tools. It has an idle state, it has a detecting resize and a resizing. What I really like about this is that we're just defining, okay, I have an idle state and I make that a function that returns the idle state. And the only thing I have to do to make this work is that I have to say that the state is a constant. So I'm not like creating an explicit state type here. I'm just creating the function that produces that state. And then I can pass whatever parameters I want. So whenever I call idle, it can return different things. And the same for detecting resize. I'm just creating the state. I insert a property, and you see it based on passing, and I find it so interesting. So passing these options to produce the state, it actually helps infer the type of the state. So now it knows that initial x is a number because you grab it from the initializer params. Oh, this shouldn't be here. Sorry, I was exploring. And now I kind of have these state creators, and the way I type them is that I just I'm just taking the return type of each of these state creators, and now I have my state. And instead of exposing functions, because that's the thing for me, exposing functions kind of even though these functions are really there to help the typing, I feel like exposing functions is a higher abstraction. Like if I rather expose a type, that's like a lower abstraction, it feels like. So instead of having like create handlers and you like pass in an object and you still have to pass a state and action there, it's just a type. Like I want to create the handlers or transitions. I should call it transitions. I want to create the transitions for this state and the actions. So this works exactly the same way, but look at this. This is so nice. Now, whenever you transition, you don't have this object describing the new state. You just call the state creator. So it's extremely explicit that you're moving between the different states, which I really, really like about this. So this is kind of it. These state creators gives you a lot of things. It doesn't, like previously you only had the typing, but now you have inferred typing, you have explicit transitions, and you are explicit about how these states can produce different versions of themselves. So instead of like going through all the transitions and reading, for example, moving to detecting resize, it might move there in different ways. Now you have a more constrained way of, yeah, the unused parameter is back. So you have, so you have more constraints. Like you're defining the state creator as a way to constrain how this state can be produced, which is like a value in React states. It's to create constraints. So I really like this. And yes, so I changed that as well. Like again, like abstractions, stuff you have to learn. Because what I was able to do when using these state creators, I don't need this. I used to have this like transition callback to make it exact, like the return type to be exact. But since we're calling this state creator, the return type is exact. Like there is no other way of like adding stuff here, which is super nice. So that meant that I was left with state and action again, and I didn't like the pattern where you did this. Like that felt just bad. So yeah, unused param is back. And it also reflects like not building too many abstractions. This is just the reducer, right? It's just that you put a reducer behind every action you want to deal with. So it reflects more of a lower level thing. And then when you create the reducer, there's no like create reducer. No, you create the reducer. So you give it a state, the action, it's just a reducer. But instead of writing a bunch of switch statements, you call this transition function with the state, the action, and the transitions you've defined. Because that's what's actually happening. Yeah, Overmind could probably do. It would be arguably. Yeah, it's the inline actions in the state. Yeah, I think maybe there it could work better. Because you would kind of like in an action, you would probably like, I can't quite remember exactly the API, but you would kind of point to the state first, and then you would try to run the action or the inline action. Like you would ask, am I in this state? And then kind of continue calling the action. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little bit inline actions with state. Like in Rust, you do have this. Like you have a struct where you describe the state, and you also define what functionality. So that makes sense. Like the concept of defining state and what functionality is available in that state makes a lot of sense. And Rust has this. It's called state types or something. Type states. But Rust is a different kind of language. It has some guarantees that you don't have in JavaScript as well. So I'm very torn on that. And at the end of the day, the biggest problem of having inline actions with the state is that you have to convert those functions into dispatches. At least with React, you have to do that. Yeah, we didn't get into that. That's the biggest thing. Like, you can't just put a function there and then it works. You actually have to convert it into a wrapper function that does a dispatch. And that requires you to create abstractions, which is exactly what I don't want to do. For this library at least. But yeah, okay. So I feel really good about this. It's just embracing like patterns instead of abstractions. Oh, I like that. Patterns over abstractions. Like that's one of the values. So that's this is the thing now. Now the other thing I've been playing around with, going down this path of not creating all these abstractions so that you don't understand what's happening under the hood, and that's related to the commands. So why do we have commands? So the point is, a lot of the functionality here, as you can see, we are using, this is a good example. So we have use state effect, and use state effect is used for running logic related to moving between states. So like when you move into a loading state, go and fetch the data. That's a good example. Or here you can see whenever we move into detecting resize or resizing. So basically whenever we are within these two states, one of these two states, we want to register a mouse move listener and a mouse up listener. And then whenever we move out of these two states, like we move back to idle, basically, then it will remove those listeners. So that's like the state effect. But then we also have use command effect. So that's unrelated to transitioning between states. So this can be you're in the same state, but you want to run some side effect. And that is what a command is for. It's just to say that, okay, I made a change in my state now, but I didn't transition into a new state. But I want something to happen on the outside. And that's what you can use a command for. Now, how do you express that? And the thing with a reducer is that the only thing you really have, what if you move from one? Oh, yeah, in this one. Yeah, so this, how could you call this? So I'm trying to find the right way to explain this, and I haven't found quite the best way to explain it, but let me do it like practically. So if you're in the idle state and you move into detecting resize, it will run this use effect. And if you now move into resizing, nothing happens. It's considered the same state. So nothing happens in this effect. And if it moves from resizing back to detecting resize, nothing happens. And as long as it moves between these two states, nothing happens here. And if I were to move into resizing first, then it would also run this the first time. But again, moving between these two states, nothing happens. But as soon as I move out of one of these states, then it returns the disposer. I guess there's a term for that. But yeah, in practice, that's how it works. So it's very good for subscriptions. Like I want to subscribe as long as I'm staying within these states. But as soon as I'm not within these states, I don't want to subscribe anymore. Yeah, that's a good way to explain it, I guess. Back to the commands. Yeah. Now, the thing with the reducer is that we only have the state. That's the only thing that can make that happen. And the thing is, we need to update that state for the reconciler to trigger. If we return the same state, nothing would happen. So we need to change the state, and we need to change the state in a way that makes sense. And previously, I was abstracting this by like allowing you to. Do we have an example here? So by allowing you to like return an array here, you could like the first part of the array, like a tuple inspired by Elm. So the first part of the array was the state, and the second was the command. But that means you have to learn this new thing. Like it's not a normal reducer anymore. That's just returning state. So following the principle of this just being low level is that, well, you don't really like you can very easily have this concept of a command. It's just adding a property, and that property has some description of what should happen with that command. So an example of that would be mip and foo bar, for example. If I were to add that, I could just create like a plain use effect, and that use effect would look at resizer state equal. Where did I put it? On idle? Oh, on resizing. So resizing. So I would put it into, what one did I call it? MIP and resizer MIP. I can even call it like run MIP, something like that. I can do this, and if run MIP, do some side effect. This is the thing, right? So whenever I would move into the resizing, I will produce a new resizing state. It will produce a new object here, which means that this will become true and it will run the side effect. If I move to some other state, or I would run resizing and kind of have some conditional here, it will not run that command. And if I were to change some other state here, like I would still be in resizing, but I wouldn't change MIP, then the reference on this object would be the same. And it still wouldn't run. Like this would be the same. So what would happen is that I would have the same MIP object both times, so it wouldn't run the effect again. So that's like how you low level deal with it. And then the question is like, how do you expose that behavior in a way that the person understands it, like following the principle of this just being a reducer, but not making it like super confusing and weird. So one thing, so this is for me, this is kind of the final thing I'm trying to resolve. And I'm not 100% confident yet. But the way it's exposed now is that you have a symbol coming from React states that allows you to add a command. So you can add a single command, and if you want to do like multiple things, you would just create a command that does multiple things. So at any point in any state transition or state update, you can run a single command. So in this case, a command is described as just like an action has a type and a state has a state. A command has a CMD command. And then you just call it, and then the use command effect knows about these. So this is typed. So it just looks at the command symbol and finds what commands are available to you. And the difference between use state effect and a command is that use state effect is an actual use effect that has a disposer, because you can move out of the state to dispose something. But a command isn't an effect that can dispose, because it just runs. Okay, we got a command on this state, run it. There's no like going out of that. Yes. So the question is that a good way to expose it? One thing that's a worry is that what if I wanted to make sure, like the example I had with the MIP thing, I said that what if I wanted to only notify resize the first time we moved into resizing? Like, it sounds weird, but it's a bad example, but the behavior is something that might occur. Is that the first time you move into the state, you want to, well, I guess we do have that. Yeah, you would just do this. So yeah, maybe this is a good example. My point was, In this case, it will notify resize every time we move into resizing, which is exactly what I want. But if I didn't want that, I would have to make sure that that didn't happen, or it will like do it all the time. But I guess I am already doing that. So I'm actually saying that, okay, you should notify click now. Because when I move into the idle state, when I'm detecting resize and I'm mouse up on the resizer, then I want to notify about that. But when I'm resizing and I'm mouse up, I don't want to notify about that. So I'm just making that a flag on the parameters to the state creator. So yeah, maybe that's not a worry. So let's get back to, like, is this a good way to expose a command? It would be possible to not have this concept at all. So you wouldn't do explicit command. You could just do whatever you wanted there. So you could say loop like this. And then when you do use command effect, what the typing would do is that it would look at every property, and it would check if it had like the state shape, the type shape of a command. So does it have a CMD property? And then it will pop up here. So it would actually be able to bring up bloop, and it will work exactly the same. So that's like embracing pattern over abstraction. And I think yeah, that's the tricky thing. And what it would allow, you could like run as many commands you want. The thing that's not that great is that this typing here will be part of the consumption of the state. So whenever you're in a component building the UI and you're consuming the idle state, you would actually see this command pop up, which might feel a little bit weird. While with the command, you would have a symbol there. So you will always have like this special symbol that describes that specific thing, that it's a command. It's more explicit. Yeah, let's think about that while I blow my nose. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry. It's amazing the amount of snot my body has created the last week. It's insane. It's like, sorry for the image, but it's like a bucket of snot. It's crazy. Okay. Yes. So the thing, what I also yeah, also with the command, like the commands is kind of commands are kind of, it looks so like when you have these state creators and you don't have these commands, it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. But then you get into these commands, and then suddenly it's like, what is this? What is this doing? This is the, yeah. I really wish there was a better way to deal with it. Yeah, because the thing is, like in state machine world, there's the concept is called transient states. That's what it's called there, and it basically means that you actually move to a state, but that state is a transient state, which means that it will immediately move. So in the context of React, it doesn't really move to that state. It actually stays in the same state, but like conceptually, it kind of moves to that transient state and then goes right back. And then you can have like a state effect on that. You can have a state effect on it. So you kind of only have one concept for dealing with side effects, and that is whenever I move into this state, run this logic. And then these transient states is just like a switch. But that kind of, it doesn't work in the context of React, because to react on a transient state, we have to do a new reconciliation in the component. And if we were to actually move into that transient state to trigger the side effect, it will also like render UI and everything. But you don't want the UI to re-render, because you aren't in that transient. You are never actually in the transient state. But we have to do that in React for it to reconcile and run the use effect. So the way you could do that is that you don't, kind of like the command, you would just call it like transient. And then yeah. Would it be possible to I wonder if it's possible to do like we have this thing called state, and what if we did, well, I'm just going to see what happens when I do this. What if we did this? So it can either be state or transient state. Does that mess up all the typing, or does it still work? Maybe we can let's just keep the command there just to avoid transient state. Yeah, no, all the typing still works. Nice. Right? Yeah, all the typing still works. What if I said that you could actually move into a transient state? But how would that work? Then it would actually return. No, that wouldn't work. No, because that would still be a problem. Like it would still reconcile. Yeah, no, that wouldn't work. Yeah, this is the tricky thing. Because you don't want to change. Yeah, so the thing that I did before, it did exactly the same as a command. Like when it was called transient, we just added a transient property as a symbol, and then it would run it exactly the same thing. It's just now it's more explicit. You just call it a command, you call it what it is, and then that will just work. But I wonder if it's a better way to yeah, as I said, like this is the thing that throws you off. If you were to first time you were to look at this resizer, first time you look at React states, where the core is really these explicit states, and then suddenly you see this stuff, you would be like, what the hell is this? So I want to make it more accessible, but I want to make it accessible at the low level that we are now, which is a fun constraint to put on it, to kind of find a solution. But how would we do that? No matter, I think it would be nice to just remove that command symbol and allow you to, yeah, at least we're going to do that. Because I don't want that command symbol, because that adds API surface and stuff you need to learn, while the command pattern is more about it's a pattern. It's not like feature of the tool. State commands, we can remove everything. Pick command. You see this? We're removing stuff. That's always good. Use command effect. So we wouldn't actually have. So that's the thing. Should we still have use command effect? Oh, wait. T state command still needs to be there. It's just not this one. So what we want to do here, this is interesting. We want to extend. Yeah, this is interesting. So here we want to extract all the commands. And the way we want to extract them is that when this T-state shape has a property that extends, so I guess what we would want to do here, we would rather want to do this. So we want to iterate in key of T, and then if tk extends T command, did I remove it? No, you still have that. Yeah, T command. Then we want to return pkcmd. Or never. And then, well, how was this used? T-state commands. T-state command. Yeah, it's the actual command. Like and then I think we can say key of T. I think this extracts the commands. So if we were to like rather do this, if I click multiply resize, and then, yeah, so that didn't work. I think we need to move into what's it called? Typescript Playground. Yeah, you can see I've already done stuff here. Let's see. Type T command. So I thought this was going to work. Const test as T state commands state. Never. Okay, so I'm going through the state, every property. Oh yeah, I think I remember this now. Oh, I did. Oh, I actually did make this work at some point. How did I actually do this? I think maybe I would rather I think I went through. Okay, let's see. This is kind of tricky. So if I were to rather go through, the thing is, it's a union. That's what makes it tricky. But I think if I were to go through each state, and then I would rather ask the state, and I would rather ask, does this specific state, so T and state, so this is the specific state, does this extend record of string T command? No, that doesn't make sense. What would I do? Would I do the same here? So in key of, in key of, then extends T command. This doesn't seem to work. So, God damn it! I think I actually made this work at some point. So we have to go through each state because we have to look at each union. But what we want is to really figure out if it extends. Yeah, we just want to know. I think it has to be split up. So we want to know if it extends. Okay, let's just try this first. T command. Then we return T or never. What do we get now? Okay, so that didn't work. God damn it. What was the previous logic here? We could use that. Because I already did this check on. Yes, let's see. Oh, sorry. Beep. So here I did it. This was based on like the using this pattern, like having the thingy in front. So as command state. So here it would. Oh, here it's never as well. Oh. There we go. So now it finds this one, even if it's a union, it understands that log is a command. Yes, but it's based on. Can I do T command here? No. So this is the thing that's tricky because we want to go through each key here. Oh yeah, but now I'm saying key of. If I do this, oh, extract. Could I just do this? No, that doesn't work. God damn it, how does this actually work? So I'm getting every key. that matches. So here I'm matching on the key, but I want to match on the value of each of these. So I don't want to return key of. But why do I do state k here? That's weird. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, because this is just going through every... Yeah, I don't understand this. Oh, God damn it. This is so tricky. I don't understand how the previous one can actually work, because it went through all the keys of T. Yeah, that's weird. What we could do is T extends record K T command. That's also a way to express it. Yeah, and then this shouldn't be key of T. And that's the thing, like pick should be, or extract would be in key of... I do wonder why this actually worked. That certainly doesn't work. Sorry to bring you down this horrible path of yeah, the tricky thing here as well is like, does this give too much freedom? Because you might try to like nest the command as well, which is not, wouldn't work. So there's more like, maybe this actually shouldn't even be a thing. Like there shouldn't even be a use command effect. So the way you would rather do this is, I'm not giving up. Like I always make my typing work some way or another. Yeah, exactly. It's like often if, and that's what I also notice by when I have ideas on APIs, and if it simplifies the internals of the library, it's just like a smooth experience, then you're kind of onto something. If you get pushback from the typing, there's an indication that you're doing something, like you're abstracting too much. It can be an indication that you're abstracting too much, because as long as you use the language itself, the typing just works. So one thing we could do here instead is that you wouldn't like use state, you would just use an effect. Let's imagine that. Like the problem now, as I said, you would do, if we wanted to run this notify click, what we would have to do is like run notify click, and then it would be like resizer state equals, where did I put it? Idle, and Sizer notify click. Right, and then you would do this, and then you would do this run effect. So wait a minute. Match prop. We have this thing. We have this thing. Sorry, I can't stop. So this is a thing that actually mip equals match prop state, and then shouldn't you get? Oh, this is interesting. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's just so now it just gives you a prop. What we could do here is p, and this is unknown. So what if we did t command here? Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, of course. This is the thing. This would be the return type. Yeah, I guess this doesn't really help. So here we have the same. I wonder why this works, actually. Because here we're going through every key of S, which is any property, but then we're matching it with the state. That's what I don't understand. Like this should really be in S state. State that, like that's how it should work. Now it only gives state. I think this is kind of a hack. Yeah, I really don't understand why this suddenly works. It's because it's a union that makes it really difficult to type this. But yeah, it's interesting because we really want this one to reflect only the log. But what do we actually get if we do p? Yeah, this is p extends. Is it possible to do? What if all props? What if we do all props? And you extends again? Oh, goddamn, TypeScript. Anyways, what I was testing was what if there was rather a way to allow you to more easily. So what we have now, we have something called a match prop. On level, oh yeah, match prop, resizer. Oh, isn't it working? Oh, it's actually not working. Why isn't it working? Oh. What? Resizer state. Oh, now this is actually not working. What? It's working here. That's weird. That's super weird. Let's test it. No, it's actually not working. Oh, that's interesting. The first one worked. Oh, I must be doing something weird here. Oh. Oh, sorry. It's lacking. Sorry. Same thing. Yes. I copied this from somewhere else. Here we go. So what you could do here is like notify click, and if it's there, like this is also a way to identify if the command is there. But that's also quite a lot. Like it's much smoother to just do this. No, I really want that typing to work. We need to make this work. So at least now we have something to work with. So yeah, the thing that was missing here was the state. So now we have both of them, but we only wanted to show the log because that's actually a command. But we are only extracting the keys. We are extracting the keys here. I find it so funny that it's not able to. I think we need to fix this first because this doesn't actually make sense. We're going through every single property of the state, and then we are looking at what keys do we have. Like this, it should be possible to actually just go through the state. That's what we're wondering about. So we. Yeah, this is so. I wonder why this doesn't work. Why does this only give state? Oh, I think. Yeah, because we are redefining this object now to be like foo. So we have like two properties on this object, which is foo and is bar. And on foo, we have key of foo, like the object in that. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know why. If S extends that one, then we do key of S or never. and then we do state. Does that work? Hey, that's how it's supposed to be. Okay, so now I think we can do better. So if we have that state, we should be able to do the same here. So we should be able to go in k in key of s, because now it's in that state. And if sk extends t command, then we return the key, never, and then this will be key of s. Yay! We did it! That's some TypeScript magic for you. Cool. Now, the interesting thing is, what if I do this? It might not be there. Does it still pop up? No, it doesn't. So it might be undefined. And I wonder, oh, good. It's only that. Nice. This is it. This is the thing we need. Maybe this will be good. So use command effect. So yes, T state commands would be, let's call it S. Since then. Yeah, we have notify click and notify resize because they are just typed as commands. Okay, so let's revisit this. So what we've done now is that instead of having like an explicit API of running commands, we are rather just enabling you to do this. However you want to describe it in your state, which I think is better than having the explicit thing. The question is this even a good thing? Again, we do now have what's it called? Yeah, like consuming UI, you will have these commands there. It's not a huge deal, but they will be there. What you could do is you could say const notify click, and you can make it a symbol instead, which means that they will be like different in they would like be different, yeah. But then you would kind of have this issue of, okay, so this is a symbol. Now, how do you actually create the command? You would kind of do like create, like this is also weird, like this. But now it would actually be, yeah, so now you would have to do, oh yeah, notify click. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, sorry. Was it notify? Oh, was this notify resize? Oh, sorry. So this would be notify click. Yeah. You would kind of do it like this instead. So, so the way this would look is if resizer with idle. Yeah, it pops up like this instead. Which is like, does that, it's nothing. Like it doesn't really matter. It's too much overhead. Yeah. I'm a bit unsure about this, but at least we're going to stick with this for now, and then we'll see where this ends up. Yup. Like we could also do things like command, and then you would actually have your state, and then you would add your commands here. But it doesn't really, again, it adds API surface, and it does exactly the same thing. Oh, we're going to try this. Let's wrap that up, and yeah, remove the pick command state. Command state. There it is. Still need that. This just allows you to take a state and make sure that it matches a state that has that command. Okay, cool. How does the documentation look like now? Docs. So we have, we don't have create reducer anymore. Now we just have transition. We don't have, so I use state effect. I kind of want to, use command effect. And I want to introduce use command effect last, because that's something that you typically don't do. So we have use environment. We don't have create reducer, and we should not have use reducer either. We don't have create reducer handlers. We don't have that one anymore either. We rather have T transitions, and we have T transition helpers. So this would be transition. Transition. We don't have. That's it's kind of crazy how much refactoring I'm doing, exploring all this stuff. It's insane. Why is this not saving? Or formatting, I mean. Maybe I don't have the extension. What's it called? Prettier. Yeah. There we go. Cool. Actions is now just a type because they are decoupled from the state, as it should be in state machines. Then we don't have the type, and we don't have transitions. And this is just a reducer. And then we transition state action with transitions. And transitions, it's just the transition state action. Go. The transitions. Yes. Then we have command, which we can remove when entering a specific state. Use command effect. We're going to move that down. Run an effect when the command is part of a transition. So that means we first write some logic. Just or wait, we can call it reducer. Yeah, this is reducer and this is transitions. Sorry. Where were we? Use command effect. Yeah, we were trying to copy this stuff. So let's imagine that we want to const log in the log as const, and then we would give it like a message or something. And whenever we move into here, we want to say moving into foo. And then here we would log moving into bar. Cool. It would be the same. It would be the same, and then message console.log message. This is basic. Okay, this is kind of nice. Yeah. And all this is typed as well. So, and this is like just a convention to use the dollar sign for it, which is probably perfectly fine. Anyways, something to reflect on. But at least now there's no magic to this. It's just an object you return like anything else, and then you just have the command helper so that you don't have to write all the use effect code yourself, just like with use state effect. It's a helper to not having to write all that logic yourself. Remove some boilerplate. Yeah, this is a nice example. Okay, and then create environment provider, use environment. We don't have create reducer here anymore. We don't have use reducer anymore. You will have to do the DevTool stuff yourself. Utils. We don't have create reducer handlers. We rather have this thing called T transitions. Oh, that was testing. T transitions. So that means let's just copy and then we'll just remove what we don't need. Types the object, states and standards. So we can keep, yeah. And then it's basically this other thing called T transition. And why do I call this emit and this T transition? Well, this should actually be called T emit, I think. So why does pick state doesn't have T pick state? It's because it's an actual utility. Well, these things are typings. So T for type emit. I think we should name this T emit. So we separate utilities from actual types and type utils. Let's just call it that. Yeah, and by the way, did I? Oh, maybe this is maybe the first time I'm going. How did I move that line down? I know I've done this before. When I hold, what do I have to hold to move the? Oh, it like this. Emit, emit. T transitions, T transition with a specific state and handlers. Is it Alt? On Mac, is that option? Yeah. Okay, so here we're going to express a specific state. So this is kind of cool. This is actually typed as well. So here we would just do that specific foo transitions. Cool. No, this is just to help you like organize. It doesn't do anything more than that. And then we have T emit. And this is related to the environment. We didn't really talk about the environment stuff, but that's that's kind of settled. The only thing I changed, maybe we should change that in documentation as well. The only thing I changed is create environment emit. Okay, there we have it. The only thing I changed is that. Oh yeah, and then this is interesting. So one cool thing that we can do, I'll show you this. So this is, yeah, we'll have to reflect on this as well. But so when you use an environment, you basically create this environment interface, which is just a typed interface for the application to interact with. And then you implement that interface. In this case, we just have a couple of silly functions here. And then when you create, nice, so now we can just do log, and we do fetch to-dos. This is kind of cool. So what I did is when you define an environment, you can actually run. Yeah, how would that work? Yeah, now this doesn't make that much. Oh, fuck. I forgot about this. So, oh shit, is that the time? Yeah, I have to prepare some interview stuff. One thing I did is that when we were using the, God damn it. Yeah, so yeah, maybe I should just remove this. Because I wanted to make a simplification that you could create commands from the environment. So what this actually returns is a command that describes how you would actually how you would make a call to the environment. So you actually wouldn't have to like use command effect to make calls to the environment. But this again, it's a convenience thing, but yeah, I don't think we should do this. because it's not very typical that you want to do it, and it does only complicate. But it's kind of cool. And the way it works is that it's a proxy. It types the actual environment interface and then puts a proxy in front of it. And then with the proxy, it produces that command object, which is pretty cool. But that's the only thing it is. It's else. This is the typing for it. T commandify environment. Let's remove. It's always good to remove stuff. There we go. And then we have use environment. Maybe we could call it use subscribe environment. Yeah, use environment, use subscribe environment. Yeah, that makes more sense. Environment interface. So we don't have these commands. We rather, so there's a little bit more manual wiring here, but I don't think it's that bad. So what we need to do here now is use. Yeah, so the thing is, like with fetch to do's, you wouldn't really use a command for that. So maybe we can simplify that as well. Wouldn't use a command for that because you move into the loading state, so you would use a state effect for that. Whenever you move into loading, you want to fetch the to-dos. But we have this other thing called save to do. Which takes a to do, and the command is save to do as const, and it takes a to do. So let's forget about that logger thing. Yeah, let's just make this a more natural example. So we have this save to do. And then what we do here is that save to do. So what we do here is that when we are loaded and we want to add a to do, we're still in the loaded state where we give it the updated to do's array. And then and then we run the command here instead, because the loaded is actually used for two different things. You're loaded with initial to-dos and you're loaded with updated to-dos. And I think it's important that these state creators, they represent the state they produce. They're not like logical functions for doing different things. They are explicitly how to move into that state. And then the arguments or the params you give it is different ways of ending up in that state. Or like variations of that state. And in this case, saving the to-do every time we move into the loaded state doesn't make sense. It's actually explicitly related to the action that we want to save to do. It's not related to the loaded state, right? So that's why I'm doing this spread. And that means in the app, we don't do log, we do, oh shit, didn't it pick up the, yeah, this is also something I didn't fix. Wow, didn't it pick it up now? God damn it. Oh, ha. Interesting. That doesn't actually work. That doesn't actually work, which is, I kind of like that, because this was a bit hard to explain. We have to make it part of our typing. So running commands needs to happen related to moving into a state. The question is like, the question is more, as I said, like the state creator has params for you to, like we did with the resizer. One of them had like a notify click param, which decided if you wanted to notify about the click or not. The thing here is that now this loaded thing is kind of designed for getting the initial to-dos. But we really want to also like save a to-do. So what we could do is that we could make the loaded to also take new to-do, which is optional. And then we could say save to-do. If we have a new to-do, we would do save to-do with that new to-do, or we wouldn't do anything. That's one way of expressing it. And you can, of course, argue if this is a good pattern, but that's something to explore. And then we would say, so in here now, when we save the to-do, use environment, we call it to-dos API. And we save the to-do, and then we have the to-do here. Then we save the to-do. So all this stuff is related to guarding, right? So we actually, if the UI for some reason calls add to-do when we're not loaded, nothing will actually happen. It won't even save the to-do to the server, and so on and so on. This is the whole point. Yes. Cool. Now the thing is, this dispatcher, this is the last thing before we publish this version, is now typed to what you actually want outside to do. But we also we have also typed the reducer with the environment. As you can see here, you take an action or you get an environment action. And the point is, you don't really want to expose these actions on the dispatcher itself. Because that's kind of weird. Because it's only the environment that is producing these actions. And you don't really want to... Yeah, it's... yeah, maybe we could just use an effect here. But it really is this simple. Emitter. Emitter.subscribe and dispatch. Oh, and then you fix the typing as well. Yeah. So this is basically what's happened. The environment has an event emitter, which all the different API implementations use to notify about stuff that happens in the environment. And then you just subscribe to that and send them into the reducer. And yeah, I think let's just do that, because this also reduces the API surface. We don't need this thing at all. And this puts, this makes the core of the, I like this, because the only thing about the environment is that you define it, and then you get the provider and the function for implementing the environment based on the interface, and then use the environment. That's nice. And now we don't have this, like the thing is you don't really have a way to, oh, but dispatch. Yeah, add to the, yeah, this is right. Because now, one thing I wonder now, what if I were to remove this fail? Because this doesn't really care about the typing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so as you can see, we type our transitions with the environment action, but we don't type the incoming actions with the environment action. So one thing that can happen, which has happened, because this is quite similar to how it is now in CodeSandbox Projects, is that you add this and you start listening to events and then nothing happens and you forgot to subscribe. But that's very easy to detect. So I don't think that's an issue. Cool. And then in our documentation, and we're almost done. In our documentation now, let us, oh yeah, that's just, oh, we need to fix this one as well. This is command effect. Yeah, and we also have match prop, which is nice. Let's fix that one as well. This environment, t emit. Yeah, so how do we ensure that we understand? I guess use environment would be where we, so we would do use effect, emitter, subscribe. Initial state. Dispatch environment actions into reducer. Okay. That's nice. And then we have, yeah, we had the match. Where's the match? Match. Yeah, so this is kind of a tool that helps you match on a specific state, and it's exhaustive so that you make sure that when you render out something, you match all the states and you know what to render in each state. While match prop is basically just a way to, it matches all the props in any state, some prop, and you just ask, is it there? And then you use maybe some prop, or you can do something else, not there. This just helps you. So for example, we have a reducer with quite a few states where a couple of those states has like a pending commit, and we don't really care in the component, we don't really care about which state we're in, we just care about, do we have the pending commit or not? So this is a helper for doing that. Then we use command effect, nice. And then the final thing now would be, let's see, use dev tools, does that? Yeah, so then we have use dev tools if you want to use that. And then in patterns, we have hook, where we top. We don't need this typing, we don't need this typing. We want to make the reducer should now be state, action. transitions, and this should be transition. This, and then this would go to, you see all this code we're removing, and we got type safety and all that good stuff. This is nice. And then initial state or foo. Yeah. Cool. Yes, initial state. It's just a pattern. Reducer, switch reducer, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and then, so we can use DevTools, switcher, reducer. Cool. Yeah, so this is just a pattern where you make the reducer a hook so that you can run state effects within like one hook and then add the dev tools and stuff like that. Just a good separation. Cool, but this looks nice. We are happy, or at least I am happy. Yarn build. Oh, wait, I can't. Don't think I can publish from here. I have to do that locally. New thing. Cool, great. That's it for now. We'll do more streaming next week, I guess. Yeah, we got a lot of ideas, and we're going to work more on CodeSandbox projects as well. So you kind of, I'm using it now, but you, as you see, like I'm just in VS Code. So even though it looks very similar, like if I wanted help with something, I could just give like a URL to someone, and they could like help me. Oh, we have a new one here now. Nice. Yeah, cool. I can even run the, oh, this is nice. I didn't know this was out yet. So this is actually, oh, cool. How does this work? Ah, nice. Ooh. Can I, yeah, and I kill it? Nice. Yeah, the thing is, if I create a terminal here and I would go to the project editor, it will actually be there. So other people could actually look at the terminal I'm working with inside VS Code, which is kind of cool. And I can also run tasks here. Let's run a type check. How does this work? Oh, nice. So these tasks, this is coming from our solution. Like we, so you can like define your own tasks and stuff. That's cool. Anyways, and then we have previews. So this would, oh, it opened up in a different view. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, but we are like making a lot of changes to. Oh, it's already active. Ah, cool. Terminate task. Anyways, sorry about that. We'll talk more next week. Bye for now.